Oh, hi Stephen. Hang on, it's a good bit. To be fair, most of it's good bits. This book hasn't failed to disappoint me. It's very good, and chock full of quotable bits, almost as much as Hamlet. Maybe I should invent a verb. Game of Throning. A song of ice and firing. Doesn't really work like Hamleting, does it? So I know Katie watches this, and I felt I should be nice to her considering the rant that she just did over on Uninhabitable Planets. But, you know, I also then thought perhaps I should show solidarity to you in the way that Heather did and not be nice to her. So I'm going to be as indifferent as I can and say something like, we've all been there. Is that too nice? I'll leave it at that. I mean, there are some people who think that I should lose weight. So, just think about that one. I mean, you could probably fit two of you next to each other and still hide them behind me. Yeah, I'm in a shirt. How good's my shirt? It's awesome. Look at my plain work shirt. It's comfortable. Now, I've been kicking myself recently because one of my assessments for university, I forgot to submit a bibliography. And bibliographies are very important, obviously, because you need to credit somebody's ideas where credit is due. So today I wanted to talk to you about plagiarism. At JS, we quite often put references in the text all the time, whether it range from simple intertextuality, cross-reference, the tree of irony, or something like that, or whether it be an allusion in order to draw the audience to a simple conclusion, such as the cigar thing that we discussed, or sometimes even an homage. And I mean, it's not an uncommon thing to do. In Castle, they often make Firefly jokes. Well, I say often, but about once a season, there's an amazing Firefly joke, which I've probably told you all about. I know I certainly told other Michael about. Michael, depending which Michael is watching this. If either of the Michaels are watching this, it's other Michael, unless it's you. Oh, now I'm confused. So anyway, the point is, like, that's not plagiarism, is it? You wouldn't have thought of that as plagiarism. And yet we don't actually reference in a sort of academic meaning of the word. We don't put at the end of the show, oh yeah, this line was stolen from this place. Like in Best Wishes, you took the Love Actually reference in there. So why is it that when a stand-up comedian uses someone else's jokes without referencing them, it's plagiarism? Because that definitely is plagiarism. It happened recently in Birmingham that a certain stand-up comedian did that, and we were all very miffed off about it, and rightly so, I would have thought. The answer to this, of course, might be, oh, he was passing it off as his own work. But, I mean, in JS, we pass that off as our own work. We never say Best Wishes isn't our own work. We never make a reference, as I've just said. And yet, you wouldn't say that the reference to Love Actually in Best Wishes was plagiarism, would you? Why is that? You'd have thought it was fair enough. Nerds love meta jokes and in jokes and references and things like that. That's a main staple of humour for us. And yet, somehow, it makes it very difficult to define plagiarism without making that definition too wide or too narrow. And that's been bugging me recently. So I thought maybe we could arrive at a definition which is something like, you pass it off as your own work for personal gain. But I mean, then Castle, which I've talked about earlier, makes money, doesn't it? And we will be selling Best Wishes. We're not going to say, just because we've made a small reference to Love Actually, that we should owe them any royalties, because it's a reference, it's not plagiarism, is it? It's not, I mean, yes, it's a line that was used that was written for Love Actually. So then maybe I thought, maybe it's a percentage thing, because we only use one line, don't we? You only referenced it with one line, whereas this chap, who shall remain nameless, used a massive percentage. I mean, most of the jokes, if not all of the jokes, were recognisably plagiarised from somebody else, and he passed them off as his own work more than once in a competition environment. And that is beyond the pale, isn't it? That's plagiarism. And it's happened often in professional stand-up comedy as well, hasn't it? That somebody has challenged someone else over the fact that they think they've stolen a joke. And that seems fair enough because it's original work. At the same time, sometimes the same joke can be arrived at by two different people separately, and that's a completely separate issue. You wouldn't call that plagiarism. But in the case that I'm thinking of, it's definitely a reference. Love Actually definitely got there before Best Wishes. So where do we move forward with our definition of plagiarism? So let me think for a minute. I mean, there's a large percentage. Where do you draw the line? Because there's a large percentage of Hamlet in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, isn't there? And I mean, that picks up on another interesting point where most modern stories cannot be retold without it being called plagiarism. But it used to be that the stories could be retold and that would be original work. Like, off the top of my head, Faustus is retold by several playwrights. I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with having changed enough of the material or using the material in an original way. But that still doesn't... It's difficult to come up with a definition, a solid definition based around those terms. I don't know. Give it some thought. Comment in the doobly-doo. Don't comment in the doobly-doo. That's wrong. Only I can write in the doobly. Well, Stephen can write in the doobly. You can write in the doobly-doo, Stephen. But I trust that you will respect that this is my doobly-doo, not your doobly-doo. Mine. Comment if you can think of anything. So, Stephen, I'm just going to go back to Game of Thrones and read all their quotes and try desperately not to plagiarise.